Okay, so last week I actually talked about 10 Nintendo Switch games you guys should buy before they become super rare, and a lot of you guys really enjoyed the video, liked it, and gave me suggestions. So for this weekly series, we're gonna dive back into it, but this time we're gonna be focusing on games that actually aren't too bad on price. And some of you guys might be thinking, well, wait a minute, why should I buy that? That doesn't seem like it's going to be rare, but I will detail and break down through each one of these. Some of these games are actually even somewhat new, but what I've done is look back at previous games in the series, whether they're cartridge format or not, and what causes the prices to go up or not based on the series and also the sales of the games, because that's what's really the big factor here, guys. Some of these games just don't sell a lot, and there's going to be Switch production issues where they don't really make a lot of them, so if you have a copy, it's going to end up rare. And also, guys, make sure to remember that these are all Amazon-based prices, which do kind of look at eBay and other places and get a good price. And on top of that, in Europe, some of these prices are cheaper just because for some reason the European versions of even the same games are not as valuable as the American versions. Now, if you haven't seen my volume 1 or my number 1 of my 10 Switch games to buy now, make sure you check that out. That will be in the link in the description below. And before we get into this, also please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it here. And we're starting off with a game that a lot of you guys mentioned, and that is Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore on the Nintendo Switch. Now, what's going on with this game? Why is it important? Now, this is a really weird game. The development of this game twists and turns. It was supposed to be a real, actual crossover between Fire Emblem and also Shin Megami Tensei back on the Wii U. They ran into issues and it ended up becoming pretty much a new IP with some elements with the battle system and things from Shin Megami Tensei, and then some of the characters in weird Mirage forms from Fire Emblem in the game with brand new characters in a brand new setting and world. So, I mean, it's kind of cool when it comes to the concept, but then there's a bunch of music and other stuff, but the gameplay is top notch. And the game on the Nintendo Switch probably didn't get a lot of print run. This was pretty much, I wouldn't say a commercial flop because they actually ended up porting it to the Nintendo Switch, so I'm guessing that it made some money, but it was not a big seller. I doubt there's going to be a sequel, and the game, even though it's been out now for a while on the Switch, it's still near MSRP at $53.19. So you know what that means, guys. There's not a lot of them out there, and if you have one 10 years from now or something like that, it's probably going to be worth a lot more than what it is at this point, despite the game not selling extremely well. Now, moving on to the next game is a game that a lot of you guys probably have, and that is Metroid Dread. It is $55 right now on Amazon, right near MSRP, and I know a lot of you guys are probably going to be asking me, well, why Metroid Dread? Nintendo's probably going to make plenty of copies. It's a game that's doing decently, and yes, all of that could be true. However, if you go back and look at cartridge prices for previous Metroid games years or decades after the release, that's where you see the issues. That's where you see the games jumping up in price. Games like Metroid Zero Mission, also games like Metroid Fusion go for insane prices when it comes to the resale value. So cartridge-based Metroid games on the GBA, even if you have like the DS game or any of the other ones, go for a lot. Heck, Super Metroid or any of the other ones go for quite a bit. Not quite the disc-based Metroid games, but the cartridge-based Metroid games. It's weird, right? But hey, it is what it is there. Although Metroid Prime Trilogy did kind of spike up a bit recently as well. But those cartridges get to be super expensive for Metroid games. And I think that Metroid Dread will have more copies than previous Metroid games because it sold better than all the previous 2D Metroid games. But I think that there will be a point where Nintendo just says, okay, the game sales are slowing down, new Metroid games come out, whatever the case is, and it ends up being more rare way down the line than not. So pick up the game now at this point, or wait a bit more, get it later down the line, but make sure you pick up a copy of Metroid Dread, because history tells us that cartridge-based Metroid games are worth a lot in the future. Now, next up is another game that some of you guys might be saying, what's going on here? And that is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, in Fire Emblem Three Houses, this game is interesting because it's on sale. It's $39.99. The price really has been underneath MSRP at 60 bucks for quite a while now. And I think that just like with Metroid Dread, cartridge-based and old-school Fire Emblem games do cost quite a bit. Now, Fire Emblem Fates and Fire Emblem Awakening and Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, those are hovering right around or above MSRP for those games. And those games aren't quite a decade old at this point. I think 5, 6, 7 years from now, all of those games are going to be worth a lot more. So not only with Fire Emblem Three Houses you should pick that up, but maybe you might want to get all of the Fire Emblem games on the Nintendo DS as a collector's item, because those could shoot up in value. Once again, they are somewhat affordable right now. Amazon has them anywhere between the $40 range and $50 range, and you could probably get it cheaper on eBay used and everything. But the Fire Emblem games always have good value way down the line. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, the Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, those games are well over $100, $200 for Path of Radiance. And also the previous games like Sacred Stones and some of the other games are also worth quite a bit as well if you have the physical game. So Fire Emblem Three Houses and just Fire Emblem games in general, mainline Fire Emblem games. Now, moving on to the next thing here is Final Fantasy, but we're focusing on the world of Final Fantasy Maxima. This game is expensive on the Nintendo Switch because it never came out physically here in the West. It was a digital only release. Now, if you want it on PlayStation and Xbox, it's much cheaper, but the Switch version is hovering around $60 for the game. Now, I bought it back when it first came out as an import from PlayAsia for $50, and it's actually went up a little bit since then. I'm seeing prices anywhere from the 50s to 60s for this game, and I think that all of the cartridge-based Final Fantasy games are a little piece of history. The fact that you have Final Fantasy games on cartridge is very unique. You don't see a lot of those, at least not anytime recently, right? Because Final Fantasy went to the PlayStation systems. So I would say that picking up all of the cartridge-based Final Fantasy games, they're all on sale. You can get them for pretty good prices. And of course, World of Final Fantasy Maxima would probably be a good bet, because down the line, once all of these cartridges stop getting produced, these are all probably going to be worth quite a bit, and they're good games on top of that. So definitely with these ones, a lot of these are PlayAsia or import only, but they can be played in English, so you don't have to worry about that if you're looking to actually play the game. But I highly recommend getting the Final Fantasy games 10/10-2, the Asian import, not the English one, because the English one comes with the download code for 10/2, whereas the Asian import actually comes on a 32GB cartridge. So I highly recommend getting that. World of Final Fantasy Maxima, it's on a single cartridge compared to the digital version here in the West. Good games to pick up for collectors. Now, next up is The World Ends With You Final Remix, and of course, Neo The World Ends With You. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the first game in the series, and that's The World Ends With You Final Remix. Well, it's a re-release of the first game. That game is going for $60.74. That is above the $50 MSRP back in 2018 when it launched, and it's only going to go up with that because it's a very unique and niche type of game. It's not a massive franchise. Square Enix wasn't happy with Neo The World Ends With You sales, so I doubt they're gonna go with reprints or anything. This could be the end of the franchise. I mean, we don't know. Obviously, they could make some more, but it could be the end of it. And if it is the end of it when it comes to The World Ends With You, you want to have both of these games. So this one is $60 with the final remix. And then of course, Neo The World Ends With You recently came out last year on the Nintendo Switch, and that's anywhere from $30 to $50, depending on if you want to get it used or new or whatever the case is. So you can find a good price there, but I highly recommend getting both of them because we could be done with this franchise, or it could take another 13 years or 20 plus years to get something from them. So this could be it. Pick them up on cartridge. They're actually more valuable on the Nintendo Switch than the PC and PlayStation 4 versions of it. Next up is Let's Go Pikachu, Pokemon games, and Eevee. These are the priciest when you factor everything in here. And I would just say Pokemon games in general are good to pick up physical because almost every single Pokemon game is worth a lot if you have the physical cartridge. Diamond and Pearl, Black and White 2, Fire Red, Leaf Green, all of these games, the DS games, Gold and Silver remakes, all of them get to be big prices. Even though they sell so much, at some point, people just go crazy over Pokemon games and having the older ones. So I highly suggest getting all the Pokemon games, but we are focusing on the Let's Go games because those ones are the furthest away, right? They were the first Pokemon games on the Switch. So right now they're going for about $51 to $53 depending on what version you get. However, if you have the Pokeball Plus, that accessory on Amazon by itself is around $140. So if you have the bundle with Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee with the Pokeball Plus, you can probably get $200 plus for that. And if it's brand new, whew, that's going to be worth quite a bit because there is a very unique feature in that, and that is in the Pokeball Plus, there is a Mew in there. Yes, there is an actual Mew in there that you can use in your game and all of that. Plus it has some unique features, and they didn't make a ton of those when it comes down to it. They stopped producing them. You don't see them a lot in stores and all of that. So that is a very valuable game, and I think that it's even going to get more valuable as time goes on. But look for the bundle. If you can get the Pokeball Plus with the Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee, if you can have that together, that is going to be worth quite a bit in the future. Now, next up is a very unique game that a lot of you guys probably think, what the heck, what is he talking about this game for? And that is Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission Hero Edition. Not the standard edition, but the Hero Edition. That is $69.76 on Amazon. And what makes this Hero Edition special is that it comes with 11 early character actual physical cards, power-up cards. These are probably a very unique thing when it comes down to it. These are probably not anywhere else. So that is the important thing with this game, is that it has that in there, which is what makes it unique and rare, and almost $70 at this point. So I'm guessing in another 5-6 years or so, if people want to play this really weird and wonky type of card Dragon Ball Z game, people are going to be looking for this World Mission Hero Edition of the game with those cards intact. And if you find it, guys, do not open the card pack. Do not open the card pack, and do not use the redeem code that comes in the game. Do not do those, because that could knock down the value of the game. I have it myself, both of them all intact. I just played the game one night and never played it again. So I don't know about the quality of the game. I didn't necessarily love it, but I guess if you like the card game, then you'll like this. But in terms of the game itself, with the value, I think that it's going to be worth a lot in the future. Now, next up is a game that a lot of you guys probably have or thinking about getting, and is not too bad on price, and that is Shin Megami Tensei 5. It is $39.99 on Amazon. And the reason why I'm putting this game in is because Shin Megami Tensei games always go up in value with physical games. If you have Shin Megami Tensei 4 or Shin Megami Tensei 3 on the original systems, or just previous Shin Megami Tensei games on previous Nintendo handhelds and all that, those go up in price or keep their value pretty well. So the game is under MSRP of $60. So if you get it for $39.99, that's a pretty good deal, because chances are that it's going to be worth more than that going forward in the future. It's an affordable pickup for somebody who maybe doesn't have as much to spend on the games that are already expensive, but you want to have a little bit of foresight here and get something that is decently priced right now under MSRP that could be worth more in the future, just like SMT4 shot up in value. So I think that SMT5 is a good pickup. It's a safe bet right now. Another game that's very affordable but unique at the same time, and that is Ori The Collection. This comes with both of the games, all made specifically for the Nintendo Switch, and a very good job of doing that. It runs great, it looks great on the Nintendo Switch. You get both games. These are critically acclaimed, really good games on the Nintendo Switch. It's $39.99, so it's saving you $10 off of the MSRP price. And the reason why I like this collection of it is because it's both games on a cartridge. Notice that I'm not bringing up any games that have like separate downloads or anything like that, because that to me kind of crashes the value of the game. Like I talked about with Final Fantasy X/10-2, where the Asian version with the 32GB cartridge is more valuable than the US version where you have to download the game. It's very much similar to this right here. Hey, you get both games on one cartridge. You can just put in there and play. Maybe there's an update, but you probably don't need it to play the game. That's what makes something more valuable. A collection of games, and also with the quality of the game too, be it that. So I think that the Ori collection's also a very good and safe buy for people looking to potentially have more value down the line. Now we're gonna go into one more game here that I actually didn't talk about, and that is Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, another collection-based game, but a very interesting collection-based game because it's very much like Ori. Everything's on that actual cart. It's on the cart where you can play the games, and it's cheap right now. It's $27.39. But I do think because of the unique nature of it being a collection and the fact that Crash Bandicoot necessarily isn't going to be those games, right, that you're going to see a lot now with the merger. I don't think Crash Bandicoot is going to be pumping out games like Mario or whatever the case is. I think that Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy and Crash 4, but more Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, because people think that these are the best games. I think that this could skyrocket in value down the line on the Nintendo Switch. And the MSRP on this is $40. Obviously, it's been discounted since then. It came out a number of years ago, but this is a game to look out for because, like I said, the unique nature of it being a collection all on cartridge on the Nintendo Switch, and what people feel are the best Crash Bandicoot games. So it's worth checking out for a collector and seeing if you get a good one on this 10 years down the line or 5 years down the line, when all of these games are probably not going to be in production anymore. A lot of these games are probably already stopped being in production. So what are your thoughts on all the different games here? And of course, let me know what games you want to see next for me to talk about in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.